interesting now hearing about the theory development in the effort shape area.
Is this working?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so let's go back to that and we'll come back to the theory.
So, like Anne Hutchinson Guest, who have contribute a lot of theory development, and the Laban notation has grown to this big, and so in terms of the effort shape, so when you started, it must be just very simple, very not so many symbols, and then so who have been kind of helped to the growth of the
symbology. Who did pinwall ball twist? Who developed well, we know what happened to the shape material later, but how did those things evolve?
Pinwall ball screw, you mean?
I don't call it, I'm not so used to not calling it screw. No, I don't call it screw because I use I taught little kids for a long time, and you say the word screw, and all the little boys go, so screw is not a word, so we call it. But anyway, that's a whole other Michigan. So, I mean, it's a mystery, and we had a discussion at our last theory meeting, the whole issue of, for example, what was the word you used? That the symbols, for example, the symbols in lava notation, you have these basic root symbols, and then when you develop new symbols, they take into account these other symbols like words would. I don't know the word. You know what I'm talking about.
How you develop a dictionary.
Oh, I mean, but things like ball-like, screw-like, pin-like, and those set of symbols, or the symbols that. The shape symbols, of course, they relate to space harmony material that they developed from using different criteria. It was almost like they were it looks to me like the LMA materials, they weren't mostly taking consideration, the Laban notation roots, but more, what was the word you used? The pictures.
Pictographs.
You used it in the theory meeting, and I said like the ball is a round symbol, and it's like the picture of a ball. It's not like a circle, and Laban notation needs body oriented or whole, maintained.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, so the question is, how did these symbols come into being? What was
the pinwall ball?
Not just
but
overall. The
I think
set of symbols.
Many different ways. For instance, shape flow, directional, and carving as symbols. Janice Forsig and I developed those symbols.
What did you do? You just sat down and
well, we just decided we should. I wrote this paper, and maybe you have it. I think it was called "And What About Symbols?" And it was my assertion that we needed to have a symbol for every concept we taught.
This was before the shape symbols had even been, the basic symbols had even been developed?
No, are you talking about the double stroke?
Yeah, all that whole family of symbols with the shape mode, the modes of shape change symbols with the first, I presume, and then, I don't know how it evolved, and then there's...
Well, the difference between the effort being one thing,
right,
and the shape being two.
But you did it. You and Jan were the ones who
those were earlier. Those were there, I believe, in Warren's work at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the one stroke for effort, which then came off all the different effort symbols, and then the double stroke for shape, and then the thing that I felt were when we made the shape flow like this,
right,
directional.
And what was called?
That's wrong.
They call it shaping, not shaping. I keep saying.
So the shape flow, directional, and then
didn't that go through the middle?
This one,
This
I
was on
changed
the
it
bottom, but this one went through the middle, right?
Yes, it did. You're right. Oh, see, I can't even remember what
I
it
know,
was.
I know.
Okay,
Tell
so
me about it.
yes. So this was the not differentiated between arc-like
Right.
and spoke-like.
Right,
So this, and then this
right.
for carving.
And-
But then I decided that because there was such an interpretation in the Kestenberg work
Right.
around regressing and the developmental progression of shape, flow, directional, and carving, that I didn't feel applied to dance, because highly skilled adult dance movers were using shape flow as it had previously
Right.
been defined.
Right.
So then I thought that shape flow as a mode of shape change should have the
Right. Right.
the double horizontal, the double slanted lines coming through, and then that this one would be for the more Kestenberg-like
Right.
aspects, which were like widening and narrowing and widening and lengthening and shortening and bulging and hollowing.
And
So-
it's also, if you want to, I know you're not like this, but there's a whole theory thing too, but if you want to associate this with direction, that the way that where the center of axis is when you're going to analyze is very different in the Kestenberg work, because it's distal. It's distal. There's a distal analysis. You talk about this in a paper. I'm not. I don't want to get into, because
It's
it's
that
a
paper is
theoretic.
what's shaping up.
All right. And then there's a whole wonderful layer that I like about your system, because it allows for a whole category of generic symbols that I can talk about going with a what you call shaping, right, without specifying the mode of shape change, what I call shape mode.
Yes.
You don't have, but you see, that's not available. It's not available in the old system, that
No, it isn't.
layer of
You're right.
generic. And to me, generic symbols are very important. So
I agree. Generic symbols are part of the beauty of the system. In my mind, you have to have both generic and
exactly.
highly specific.
Exactly.
And, so I think
But
that's,
you and Jan
we did these.
did those. Hold that up. Let's hold
Okay,
this up.
these were the ones that Jan and
No,
I.
no, I have.
Oh, you wrote it?
No,
Well,
I
I'll
have
make it a little
Concord.
bit bigger.
Oh.
So this was the Kestenberg symbol for shape flow.
And that
And
came
then
from
we
one-
did this for directional, and this for carving. But what I realized is that shape flow as a mode of shape change should also have the line going through the double.
which allows
yes.
you then to develop into a there's a whole way of looking, but you
Yes.
have to, you can't do generic symbols without doing.
No, because in
Through
this
the grip.
system, the way Lim still teaches it, I think, is you have to make a decision immediately whether it's shape, flow, directional,
Right,
or
exactly.
carving,
Exactly.
which they call shaping. But I wanted to have it generic.
Mm-hmm.
So then, in my system, if I wanted to say that shape flow as a mode of shape change was
We made
used,
it real big on that. Do we have any markers?
Yeah, we do.
Here, do
Mhm.
it this way, that will show up on the
Okay.
camera.
so shape flow as a mode of shape change
Right,
was this one.
right.
So then I could have in a movements like
Right,
I could have that
right.
with going up and down. If I wanted to say lengthening and shortening or
This-
whatever, I could say doing shape flow, and then I could down here have a mode of
Something about
a mode,
lengthening.
something about I could go up and down with lengthening and shortening or
Widening, right, right.
yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? So I could put all of these things here,
Right.
widening and narrowing.
What's going
Or
on?
I could say that I am say if I said rising and sinking, it with the mode of shape.
But the point is, you could say rising and sinking without specifying a mode.
Right,
too.
and rising and sinking doesn't imply three-dimensionality in my term.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but well, anyway, that's.
So rising and sinking.
Do you have any idea what we're talking about?
It's okay. I don't
It
need
doesn't
to.
matter.
Yeah,
but it
because
doesn't matter.
I'm very lacking of the knowledge. But
So-
yeah.
Then we could combine symbols within the shape category to make it more specific. The way the LIMS work has it at this point, still, unfortunately, is so that you could never just say orange. You have to
But
say red,
the-
green, or blue.
again, this is a
Red,
theoretical.
blue or yellow.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Because your analogy is very nice. But going back to the point that you made about, about applications, I suspect, this is why I think that the people like Ellen or, the different
Ellen
people,
Goldman,
Ellen Goldman, or people who really feel strongly that they prefer the, let's use it for for lack of a better word, the old system.
Okay.
It's because when you start writing in the application, the two that I understand, Kestenberg and the
Warren Lamb.
what is the about
Movement pattern analysis, action profiling.
action profiling,
Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah.
work. You have to write less symbols because you always are
Uh-huh.
doing planes, you know what I mean? It's like in Laba notation, you have default things because it makes it less cumbersome.
Yes, like the step rule.
Yeah, so for their
shift, yeah.
application, the old system
It works.
works and it's easier and it's a system just like in Laba notation, motif notation. We're playing right now with the with developing materials for teaching children.
Yes.
And when my experience is using motif notation for working with children, you adapt the system.
Of course.
Brenda Farnell adapted Laba notation for, she is
Uh-huh.
Anthropologist.
for anthropology,
Yes,
and she
right.
changed it. So that's why, again, I like the idea that to say to myself, well, it's not that this system is better or this system is better. It again, for me, because of why I'm usually writing.
Yes. For your application.
And my application, and I'm dancer, that this newer system, which allows for a generic
Right.
thing, really resonates for me, and it's what works for me.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but going back to the history thing, so when Warren Lamb developed the shape, he didn't do any of the, what we now call the shape modes and things. He just said, we're just going to be doing, or he didn't have symbols for him, or?
He did have symbols for rising, sinking, advancing, but it was he was, in his application, he was always looking at the body in terms of whether it's convexing or concaving.
Right, that's what I'm saying, the center of
So you wouldn't even write a symbol unless it was a posture gesture merger.
Oh, okay.
So because he wasn't looking at every single nanosecond,
Okay.
he was only notating the ones that were posture gesture mergers. There were many, many fewer things happening than if you were going to talk about every second of every person's movement. And so that, because in his application area, posture gesture mergers are what are the meaningful things. So why would you record all this extra stuff? You wouldn't. In his system. So he wouldn't call like rising something unless he saw this shoulder and that hip going away from each other.
But he
and
wouldn't
sinking.
differentiate between if you do that with a certain shape mode.
No.
So he wouldn't say that there are these three different shape modes. You just say you're going.
The whole term shape modes that came out
Modes of
around
shape change.
Modes of shape change came out, as I remember it, around 1990.
Your work.
Well, I was
Both
talking
shape
about it
cake.
before it was actually presented as a paper. I mean, I started working on that.